PowerOre is a brand new public listed company on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol PORE. We just closed the financing. We just closed our 2 acquisitions of a former producing cobalt mine in Cobalt, Ontario, as well as a nickel property in the Gauganda camp. We're well financed. We've got a very tight structure, and we couldn't be more excited to launch this electric vehicle, a battery metal pure play company that is going to be aggressively acquiring and growing its asset base in the near future. Well, as I said, PowerOre is going to be exclusively focused on both cobalt and nickel. Right out of the gate, we're owning 2 assets in those categories. One is a former producing cobalt mine in the Cobalt Gauganda camp of Northern Ontario. It's got former production, it's got recent drilling, and it stands up well to all of the comparables in that neighborhood. We also have an earlier stage nickel project, and from there, right out of the gate, I think that's a very compelling value proposition when you look at our peers. And then from there, we're going to be going out there and aggressively acquiring additional advanced stage assets, again in the nickel, in the cobalt space, to really build our portfolio base as much as we possibly can to gain exposure, upstream exposure to this fast-growing segment. The major growth opportunities are really acquisitions. A little bit different business model we're applying here is that we're not necessarily exploring out of the gate. We're an acquisition vehicle. We believe in the context of the current market, it's much better from a risk-adjusted standpoint and to grow through acquisitions. We'd much rather be the 3rd, 4th, the 10th individual on the particular property and acquire it that way, provided we have their data, provided we see the geology in a different light. That's the difference where you're going to see PowerOre. It's really growth through acquisition, and then once we have a critical mass, you'll see us go out there and raise money at much higher prices than we're seeing right now, and answer some of the geological questions that are inevitable on all of these projects. As a new company, we have two major challenges. The first, of course, is to make sure that we fill our pipeline with quality acquisitions. Given we are an acquisition vehicle as opposed to exploration at this point in time, we spent a lot of time on due diligence, understanding the characteristics of the assets, understanding previous drill programs, and coming up with new interpretations of the geology. That's fundamental. If we don't see the upside, we won't make the acquisition. The second, of course, is to manage expectations of people who we're acquiring the assets from. We are growth-oriented, but we have to make sure the acquisitions are accretive from a PowerOre shareholder standpoint. And I guess the last thing that's a challenge is, as a brand new company, we're just getting started. Nobody really knows the name PowerOre, so we're looking at all sorts of opportunities for spreading the word, telling the market about our value proposition, and how ultimately we can make shareholders money. PowerOre's investment proposition out of the gate is fundamentally about the assets that we own. We own 2 advanced stage exploration assets. One is a cobalt former producing mine, also high-grade silver. It's got modern, recent 43101 compliant drilling and a 43101 report on it as well. The second asset we have is called the McMurtry Nickel Project in the Gauganda camp as well. It's earlier stage, but has really good drill intersections. Other assets we have, well, we have cash. Right out of the gate, we're pretty well funded. We have $1 million on closing. That's plenty of capital to execute on our business model, given we're not planning any major drill programs in the near future. We've got less than 30 million shares outstanding. We've got one of the tightest share structures around. We've got a great group of shareholders who are in it for the long term and are available to us when we need more, if and when we need more capital, which we will at a later point, at a higher price point. And then out of the gate, you're going to see us in the very near term execute on additional acquisitions, because, as I said, we are a growth vehicle. It's all about acquiring a larger asset base of both nickel and cobalt assets in Canada. being listed on the venture is fundamentally about one thing, and that's about credibility. It is the premier exchange for exploration companies like PowerOre, and credibility lends itself to our most important asset, which is really management's ability to follow through on what they say they're going to do. Us being listed on the exchange like the venture provides us that credibility, backs it up, and ultimately gives us both the liquidity and to the access of capital that exploration and development companies ultimately need.